Okay, looks like this one is working.
Great.
Hello. Can you
Hello,
guys
hello.
hear me loud and clear in the chat? I apologize for the delay. This is just some new hardware and stuff I've got going here, so basically testing it out. Oh, that's the one thing I did not test. So I think we are on. And so we'll get started then. Basically, Mark approached me to see if I would be willing to host an AMA with him on the channel here with you guys. And I agreed. I think it's important that we can discuss these things, and YouTube and this live stream is a good platform to do it. Basically, if you guys are not familiar with the situation with CoinFlex at the moment, there has been a lot going on. Basically, starting at the end of June, which is more than a month ago now, they halted the withdrawals, and they subsequently announced that this was a result of a person, a privileged customer on the exchange who had been given the ability to not get liquidated on positions, not get margin called. And so this person had to manually top up their margin, and they basically were refusing to do so, or they were delaying, and now they're refusing to do so. And so more information has been given by Mark and CoinFlex since then, and one of the major points of information here is that they have accused Roger Ver of being the trader that is refusing to pay their debt. And Roger has come out on Twitter and on Telegram groups, and he's been denying that he owes them any debt. So I think these are some of the questions we're going to be asking today, asking about, and also, of course, people are very interested to know, when are they going to be getting some of their money back, or what paths are CoinFlex going down in order to make all the customers whole. So basically, the order of things today, how I wanted to run it, was that I've got a few questions I'm going to ask Mark Lamb, the CEO of CoinFlex. And then some people have sent me some questions in advance because they couldn't make it to the stream. So we will go through some of those. And then if you guys had questions that were not answered from the questions that were asked, then we can go and start looking at guys in the live stream chat, and we'll pick some questions from there to ask Mark. And both of us have said that we don't really have any time limit here. This is open-ended. We can continue for as long as we feel necessary. And Mark is willing to do that and answer all your questions to the best of his ability. So, yeah, let's get into it. So here we go. Mark Lamb is here. So, Mark, do you have any words to kick this off with?
Yeah, well, all I'll say is thanks for having me. I think it's really important for the public to get a chance to ask questions. We've been available on Telegram, but I think it's really important for people to get the chance to ask questions and get regular updates, even between our larger announcements. We just want to make sure that people feel like they have maximum transparency on the process we're going through, to the extent that we're able to provide that transparency. So great to be here, and thank you to the audience members for the questions you're going to ask, and thank you so much to Hayden for hosting this and sponsoring this.
Very good, thanks. So these are just some of the main questions that I've been wondering over the course of this whole this whole issue here. And the first one being that on the blog post that you guys published on July 9th, you said that you'll make more customer funds available for withdrawal. So when is this going to happen, and what percentage of the locked balance is that going to be? At this stage, I know you guys have released 10% of the user account, the funds in the users' accounts. So when can we see more funds be released?
Yeah, so that will be part of what's voted on when we have the vote around rvUSD, Flex, and equity being paid out to depositors. We wanted that final solution, effectively, that final conversion of deposits into these three assets. And for any of those who are not following, rvUSD is a token that will represent the claim and the payout, and really, the debt that we are owed, and we will be honoring that at $1 upon repayment of that debt. And so equity will be shares in the business. We're going to be issuing a very, very large percentage of the company in new shares to depositors. And then Flex, obviously, is Flex Coin. So we'll be issuing this composite of three assets to depositors, and these depositors will get that alongside a further distribution of assets. And so that will be sort of a comprehensive package that's voted on soon. We're aiming to make that voting available as soon as possible, and that's probably that's when the next distribution will be made available after that voting.
So just to be clear, at this point in time, there's no amount in mind. Like for example, if I've got $100,000 sitting in the account locked, at this stage, there's no plans for a percentage of that to become available unless it goes through a vote.
Yeah, I do think the voting process will be fairly expeditious, fairly quick once that begins. And the asset issuances probably will be the fastest result after the voting process. So, yeah, it is waiting on a voting process. I also don't think this is going to be some really long and drawn out process. We just want to make sure that the solution we have in mind has buy-in from a very significant percentage of the deposit base.
Okay.
Which we think it does.
Right. So, moving on to the next one. On this same blog post from July 9th, you said also that you guys are going to be publishing the balance sheets. So, when are we going to be able to see the CoinFlex balance sheets, and when basically this is required so that the customers who are owed money at the moment can work out how much their current loss might be, and it would give them further clarity. So since July 9th, we haven't really seen any further developments with that. You guys have said, I think, that you're working on it. But when can we expect to see some balance sheets here?
Yeah, so that's actually waiting on sort of a legal process or kind of a final thing with lawyers at the moment. We are aiming to publish that as soon as possible. That will be probably well in advance of the vote. It's an important piece of information for the vote. And it's also an important piece of information for trading locked balances. So we're going to make locked balances available to trade. We don't really want to do that without at least a high-level overview of the balance sheet published, if not the full balance sheet. And then we also want, I think what's also important for locked balances to trade is estimated percentages of the equity, the Flex, and the rvUSD. So yeah, question from the audience, will we know the net asset position before we vote? Yes, definitely. you'll have to. Otherwise, you don't have enough information to vote. So, in fact, I think you'll know the net asset position or the balance sheet before the locked balances trade. So I think both are super important. We were aiming to get locked balances trading last week. We're aiming as soon as possible. This week would be great. So that should give you an idea on sort of when we'd like to get the balance sheet published as well.
Cool. And yeah, I see some guys in the audience there asking these questions, so I think you've answered that now sufficiently. But yeah, I think this is definitely something that is of like the utmost priority. So hopefully you guys can deliver on that promise soon. Next, I was wondering why exactly would anyone want to purchase rvUSD at this point? Because previously you were selling rvUSD in its white paper document that was released, and you said it was going to, you were trying to at least sell it to some major investors and things that were interested in purchasing the debt of the customer. And it would pay 20% APR. But now the plan has changed. It's no longer being sold to these people. To some extent, it is being issued to. It's being issued now to the CoinFlex creditors that are owed funds, but it no longer has a 20% APR. So I don't really understand what is the incentive for a customer of CoinFlex to take on all the risks associated with rvUSD, given that it's no longer doing a 20% APR. Obviously, other people, when it goes live on the trading, they can buy it potentially at below $1. So there's money to be made there, but I don't understand correctly, like, will the customers be able to choose at what rate they are getting it at when they convert their locked balance into the rvUSD? Or are they just getting it all at $1 and we don't have any choice about that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think there's been somewhat of a misconception around, are you getting it at $1? Well, you're really getting all of the rvUSD. So depositors will get all of the rvUSD, and they'll get a very, very significant amount of equity and an amount of Flex coin. So really in that, it's not really that they're being issued at any specific price, because what's the company worth? Is it worth 100 million? Is it worth 300 million? Is it worth 50 million? Is it worth $1 billion, right? It could be any of these. And so you're not getting issued the equity at a specific price. You're similarly not getting issued the rvUSD at a specific price. The reason to own rvUSD is that you think it's going to go to $1. You think the case is going to settle and we're going to get enforcement and we're going to recoup the assets. The reason to sell rvUSD is because you don't. So it is a bit of a binary outcome. Either you have confidence in the case or you don't. You might buy it because you think more people will have confidence over time, but those are the main reasons. So the people who sell it might think it's worth $0, and so some of them might be selling it at very low prices relative to what buyers think it might be worth. And so this is the reason why we think there will be people who won't want to buy it, because if a seller thinks it's worth $0 and is selling it for 30 cents or 40 cents or 50 cents or something like that, that might be very attractive to a buyer who thinks it's eventually, its terminal value is $1. I think, I can triple my money or double my money or something like that. So that's the reason why we think there will be interest in both buying and selling of rvUSD. The 20% was when we thought that we could attach that as a result of the claims that very quickly became clear that it wasn't the case. And so we removed that from our pitches to investors and the public.
Right. One person is asking a question here, Raphael. and it's something that I've been wondering as well. But he's asking, what is the use for a depositor to receive equity in CoinFlex, and can depositors sell their equity?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So initially, they won't be able to sell the equity. It is shares in a private company. There's no guarantee of liquidity. Um, we are very interested in attracting secondary buyers, getting periodic tender offers or offers to buy the shares at varying prices and in varying dollar amounts. I do think it's quite possible that there will be interested buyers in buying secondary shares from depositors. And we'll be periodically making those available, to the extent that we can, and it's easy to do that. There's nothing stopping a private company from making that available to people. And similarly, there's nothing stopping an investor from making that bid available to the secondary buyers. So it's something we're extremely interested in, because the faster we can get everyone back to a position where they've recouped as much of their funds as possible, or even better, they haven't lost any money, that's what we're aiming for. And so, the primary reason that we're focused on CoinFlex, and the primary reason we get out of bed and we're so motivated every day, is really to get people their funds back. The secondary reason is because we want to have long-term equity incentives in the business ourselves. But really, the faster we can get those secondaries to trade and those transactions to happen, and we can rebuild that equity value ourselves, we can regain trust in the exchange, we can grow volumes, and we can grow the equity value of the business, the faster customers will get made whole.
All right, thanks for that. Now might be a good time to just briefly restart this Zoom call, because I see there's some kind of limitation on there, and it says it's going to end in 1 minute. So let me hang up and call you back.
Cool.
And then we will get back to the audience questions. So 1 moment.
I'm back.
Okay, cool. We've got Mark back. So let's start the next question. So I don't know how much you can say about this one, but I've been wondering throughout this whole saga, why is Roger Ver disputing these allegations that you've made against him? And obviously he's not giving any information from his side, so we don't know what his dispute is. And I think my personal opinion is that I am probably appreciative that CoinFlex has been giving us some information. I suppose that it is your duty to, because we're your customers, and we don't have any relationship with Roger. But given like this whole situation, and it's allegedly at his, it's all come about because he's failed to meet obligations of his allegedly. It would just be great to hear something from him, but he hasn't given us any information. So what can you say about him disputing the allegations you've made against him?
Yeah, just that it is confusing to me when I think when you think that someone has every incentive to act a certain way, both from a legal perspective and financially, and that's not what ends up happening. I think the thing I would say is that this incident has really changed my perception of CFI, centralized finance, and some of the more fiat ways of doing things. So relying on legal contracts, relying on incentives being the thing that enforce people to do things, relying on the law and contracts being the things that enforce people to do things. You know, I used to have some confidence in those. I wouldn't say a high degree of confidence in those. I had a lot more confidence in the blockchain. But now I'm more of a decentralization maximalist, for sure, and if not fully a decentralization maximalist. I still think centralization is useful for things like order matching, and when you're running a futures exchange, you know, orders being matched centrally on an order book is still useful. But this is where we're making a hard right on decentralized custody because at the end of the day, even when people have every incentive to do something and the law requires them to do something and all sorts of things kind of are structured a certain way, you can still get these unexpected behaviors happening in maybe in times of great market stress or certain specific times, you know, credit markets crunching. But at the end of the day, that all doesn't matter. What matters is that no matter what, the customer is not going to lose their funds. And so I don't know the answer to your question about why he's disputing the allegations. I don't know what is causing him to do that. But what I do know is Aave, Compound, MakerDAO, and all of the other decentralized lending problems didn't have any issues on the way down. And CoinFlex, as well as a bunch of other CFI companies, had these issues, whether it was from the perspective of non-liquidation accounts or in the case of some of these businesses, pure unsecured loans. You know, we weren't doing unsecured loans, but we still ran into the issue. All of them, it's sort of a failure of centralized processes. And we're very, very interested in recovering trust because that's going to be the way we can recover the business. And I think the way we recover that trust is by making ourselves into the type of business that doesn't require any trust. That is the best way that crypto is always, you know, that is what crypto has invented. You know, Bitcoin back in the day is and was revolutionary because it created a type of financial system that didn't require third-party trust. And a lot of the best financial institutions in crypto are actually decentralized and don't require trust. And so we want to become that as well. And I think that's the direction we're going to have to go. And this situation has certainly made me a bit of a extremely aggressive decentralization maximalist in many respects, because if in this situation, given everything that was the case here and kind of the processes we followed, you know, trust wasn't followed through upon, you know, I don't want to rely on trusted third parties for anything, really.
Right, so this situation that we're currently in now is because you guys trusted somebody, and also as we the customers, we trusted you, and now we're in this situation. But at the moment, it's still kind of a bit of a like he said, she said situation. So will you be able to provide at some point some like hard evidence to further substantiate the claims that you've made about it? Or is it like all under wraps until this legal proceedings is concluded?
It is unfortunately all under wraps. We've provided
Okay, I think we are back online.
Okay, happy to continue.
Okay, so I'm not sure exactly where we got to there, but I think we should probably just start over that question. Do you need a reminder? It was about, you were explaining that basically you have to
She
wait
said,
until the legal proceedings are all finalized before you can
yeah,
reveal further information about the fine details about everything and further proof and evidence.
yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
And so there's nothing more to say on that. Basically, it's
No,
going to take
there isn't.
from
We
what you said, it's going to
we
take up
want
to
to
12
provide as much
months.
as we can, but we can't provide anything more at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, I think the
I think there's some kind of delay or something, but continue.
yeah, I think sort of the good thing about Hong Kong arbitration is it's relatively quick. So it's 12 months, probably a worst case scenario. Definitely not going to be significantly worse than that, according to our lawyers.
Okay. Well, sounds like we're in for a long wait, but I think everyone's worst fear at the moment is that something like this might turn into like a Mt. Gox scenario where they've been waiting for like 10 years and they're only just finally starting to get something back. But I don't know. I think personally that some of these steps that you're taking, allowing like the trading of locked funds and stuff, is positive news. So hopefully we don't end up in a worse situation than that. Now, I'm going to head on and do some questions that were sent to me by viewers and just like people in the community. So starting off, I've got one here from Electricity from joystick.club. For those of you who don't know, it's a SmartBCH project, joystick.club. So this is the guy that runs that. And he's asking, when can SmartBCH projects expect CoinFlex to do the right thing and release the BCH held for SmartBCH? Many developers worked on SmartBCH, and they saw Mark Lamb was telling people the funds would be segregated from the exchange funds and not touched. Obviously, that was not the case now. And he goes on to say that it's broken a lot of trust and caused other projects to move to other chains, basically. So it's causing a lot of damage to SmartBCH. And yeah, when are you, or what's the situation? Are you going to release SmartBCH funds sometime?
Yeah, so we are we're balancing two constituencies, two groups of people. One is the folks that have funds locked in SmartBCH and which are custodied by CoinFlex. The other group of people is folks that have funds on CoinFlex or in FlexUSD that aren't having funds on SmartBCH. And if you think about it, the issue is a bit of a zero-sum game between these two. If we privilege or preference the SmartBCH funds by just sort of paying them out one-to-one, we're inherently doing something that's damaging to the folks that hold USDC on the platform or Bitcoin on the platform or even BCH on the platform, but not in SmartBCH. Those folks will end up getting less of a distribution in the next distribution of assets. And that's not something that we want to do. That's not sort of the legal way to treat this situation. It's not how you would handle any sort of conversion of client deposits into other assets. You can't preference one client base or one type of client over another type of client. And so that's our first priority, is figuring out a solution, ideally that achieves to both aims. One is not preferencing one type of customer base and not doing something that would do that. And then the other one is there a way, while we're not preferencing a type of client base, to make the bridge whole and to restore it to someone else's custody and someone else's management, and full backing. And we've been speaking to a lot of people that have a deep interest in BCH, and different groups of people that are trying to help rectify this situation and restore confidence to SmartBCH, that are interested in a solution like that. It's not easy. It's tricky and somewhat complicated, but that is the goal. And so I think everyone in SmartBCH would like us to just fully restore the backing of the bridge. We would love to be able to do that. Legally, we can't do that. If all the other depositors were willing to accept less funds in exchange for us doing that, sure, we might be able to look at it, but they're not. I think everyone who holds USDC on the platform, or everyone who holds FlexUSD, wants to get as much of their money back as possible. So they're not going to accept a solution that damages their financial position in that sense. So yeah, that's the trick. What's the mechanism to restore the SmartBCH bridge and peg while also not damaging the other depositors? I do think it's possible. As mentioned, like, we've had a lot of good conversations around it and tangible progress towards it in the last 2 weeks. It's something that does take time, but it's something that we're making swift progress towards.
Right. So one question I've seen many people asking is basically their argument is that people who use services like the Mist Bridge or Hop.Cash, they never entered like a contract, or they were never a customer with CoinFlex. And so they're wondering, like, why aren't we getting our funds back? I think I know the answer to that. I think, is it because Hop.Cash, for example, is the customer with you? Is that why they're not getting the funds back?
Yeah.
Right. So
that's correct.
It's out there now. I've seen many people asking this. It seemed pretty obvious to me, but now you have the answer. So, one other thing that relating to SmartBCH, people had been saying as well, I think I've seen it, I couldn't find it in the short time I had to prepare, but previously you had been saying that the SmartBCH funds were like segregated and totally separate to regular deposits on CoinFlex. So people like didn't have to worry about anything happening to them. But now that we're in this situation where there's like an $84 million hole, the SmartBCH funds have now been held hostage as a result of that. So is that correct that you made those comments previously? And why has that reality changed now? It's no longer segregated. It's all been lumped together with regular CoinFlex deposits.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is really they are the same legal entity. So it is all CoinFlex's main company in the Seychelles, the customer-facing company. And so that's the reason why, at the end of the day, they are being treated the same way. And, again, we're looking to create a solution that gets everyone what they want, doesn't damage other depositors, and also makes SmartBCH redeemable one-to-one. I think we have a clear answer to how that solution could look. We're just working on finalizing that answer and making sure that it works for every party involved. It's it's not easy, and I think the frustration people have, especially people listening, have is, why can't this be done right away? And I am equally frustrated that this can't be done immediately as well. It would make everyone's life so much easier, so much better if this could be already concluded, but that's just not the way things work, unfortunately.
So another related question from Piotr. He has asked basically, even though the funds are like held by the same legal entity, CoinFlex, how come, since you guys are not filing for like Chapter 11 bankruptcy or anything like that, how come these customer funds that have not been impacted by the trading loss of someone else, how come they're continuing to be held? Because they're all there at the moment, as far as we're aware. We've seen them on the blockchain, those SmartBCH funds.
Yeah, I think the simple answer is, since there is a USDC related loss in the balance sheet, we have to create a solution that treats everyone equally. We have to create a solution that basically creates equivalent value for every depositor, regardless of what asset they've deposited.
Right. Well, I think, yeah, that point is a major point of frustration for many of the SmartBCH users. So yeah, I don't know. Does anyone in the chat have anything further they want answered on that? I think I've got a few more questions here that are pretty similar. So I think you've basically covered what these people are asking. What about like residents of the US? Obviously, they cannot become CoinFlex customers, but they have gone through Hop.Cash or whatever, who is the customer. How do you see them being like compensated for this? Because if they're getting the haircut or whatever, if they're being all treated equally, the CoinFlex people we know, CoinFlex customers directly, they are getting like the rvUSD, they're getting the equity, the Flex coin. In your solution that you've come up with, are those customers of like Hop.Cash and stuff going to get this as well? Or is it going to be like Hop.Cash that has to deal with that? But obviously Hop.Cash, they would be entitled to like rvUSD and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, again, our ideal solution is one where the bridge is restored, and then Hop.Cash could just continue providing two-way liquidity for BCH to SBCH. Secondary, sort of less ideal solution is one where customers get rvUSD, those SBCH customers get rvUSD, Flex, and equity. And if we go down that route, we're going to have to go down that route for, we're going to go down that route for customers around the world. So, yeah.
Okay, so I think at this point we will just move on to like live stream questions. So if anyone in the live stream wants to ask Mark something, now is your chance. It's on video. We will read out your question. So let's start with this one here. He's asking, basically, Mark, how much of your equity are you giving up to the creditors in this situation here? Because I know that's one thing that you've mentioned. This equity that is being issued to people, it's coming from you. Is that right?
Yeah, so I will lose the vast majority of my equity. Most likely, management and the team will get options over time, but that's correct. I will as well as other shareholders, both unfortunately investors and the team, will be giving up a very significant percentage of our collective equity in the form of newly issued shares. So yeah, it'll be diluting us to a very, very low amount.
Another question that I had from earlier was, were the like your investors, how many of those investors, or was it all of them, were they aware of the fact that you guys were doing these no non-liquidation accounts and those sorts of agreements?
Yeah, so I mean, we've uh, you know we've disclosed a bunch of different things to our investors. Uh, uh, I don't I don't know in this case about this specific item, but we have a very good relationship with our investors. We have a good relationship with them through this process. We're continuing to speak to them about all the events that are happening, and we're trying to keep them involved to the extent that they can be during this process. So yeah.
Another one that I got here from Anthony Garcia, he asks that I don't know where he heard this. I haven't heard this one, but he says there are rumors that shortly before all this stuff started, CoinFlex closed a funding round, but it was never announced. So, is this true?
Yeah, so CoinFlex is at the end of the day a private company, and we raise money periodically from time to time. Um, any funding round we don't announce, we don't have the need to announce, we don't have the need to disclose. Um, Obviously, that's going to change once we inherit maybe thousands of shareholders. Everything will be disclosed going forward. But that ultimately any previous round, that would be between us and those investors on whether that gets disclosed and how that gets disclosed, et cetera. So yeah.
So another one here. I'm not sure I fully understand the context of this, but he's asking about a 50% burn gas fee. Is this to do
Yeah.
with FlexCoin?
No, this is to do, so I think I understand the context of this question. So this is to do with the gas burnt on SmartBCH. Um, CoinFlex correspondingly burns the gas on the main blockchain for main BCH. Um, it's correct. We don't own the burned BCH. Once it's burned, it's not owned by anyone. Um, and so the goal here is again, the goal is to restore the bridge, but the the gas is obviously not owned by us because it's burned. It and at that point, no one owns it. It's a non-existent asset. We would be continuing that tradition of burning that gas, um, and we'll even continue it during all of this situation. Um, but that is sort of separate. It's a separate matter to the question of of restoring the situation and recovery.
Okay, so um, guys, keep the questions coming in the chat. So basically, this is your only opportunity that you're going to get to ask Mark all your dying questions. and we are here to facilitate that. So there's some guys here asking about like, oh, it's not fair that they have to pay for the losses on CoinFlex, given that SmartBCH is totally separate. So like, how are you able to justify that? I think you've basically said that it's just because these are just funds that are held by the same legal entity.
Sorry, I'm confused.
Well,
Can you say that again?
the guy's saying that, like, you know, we are on SmartBCH and we have nothing to do with CoinFlex and the stuff that's going on CoinFlex, and so how are you able to justify giving them a haircut or giving them a loss when they got nothing to do with that? But I think you've said that you're just saying it's because it's the same legal entity, and that is the reason why. They're not very happy about that, basically.
No, I'm not happy about it either. This is a situation no one's happy with. You know, we are trying to do every day. We're trying to do the right thing in terms of making the best out of a negative situation and maximizing everyone's chances to recover maximum value and ideally get all of their money back and ideally make money on top of that. So yeah, this is the goal. It's what we're spending all of our energy and time and focus on. It's unfortunate that these are the solutions, but I do think on the CoinFlex side, there's a real strength in making our customers shareholders, in that it actually gives us a higher chance of coming back, and not just coming back, but building ourselves into an even better exchange. I also think on the SmartBCH side, you know, it's a powerful thing as well. If we can create a restoration, it can just basically re-encourage everyone that at the end of the day, BCH is indestructible, and so that is the goal. And also, thank you to Luke, who's being grateful to us. Thank you for your positive attitude, Luke T.
So another one we've got here is that basically they're wondering whether there was a contract with the SmartBCH developers when you found yourself in the position of facilitating the bridge. What kind of agreement was made there, and who was it with exactly?
Yeah, it was effectively a written agreement. It wasn't a legal contract.
Right. So, yeah, basically you guys just spoke on Telegram or something and decided that this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Well, hopefully that answers your question. One person here, he's asking how many CoinFlex employees were let go and what roles were let go specifically.
Yeah, so mostly non-product and non-technical roles were let go, but some of the technology team were let go as well. It's we've retained a large enough staff. We still have a very significant team, such that we can build anything we want to build, and we can do anything we want to do. So it's, the goal wasn't to become a skeleton team. The goal, the depositors, everyone who, everyone internally and everyone externally that we're primarily dealing with, they want this to build into a really, really large exchange. And so, And that's going to require a lot of tech work, and that's going to require a lot of marketing work, and it's going to require a lot of work dealing with the new groups of investors and effectively investor relations. So we haven't shrank the team to the extent that we can't accomplish our mission. We just shrank the team to be more suitable to the new mission. And so, it can sound really aggressive when a company talks about massive reductions to salaries, staffs and costs and stuff like that. We've been through many, many bear markets before. We've been through many, many periods of hirings and periods of contractions. That's actually par for the course when it comes to crypto, unfortunately, with the boom and bust cycles of crypto. It's kind of been exacerbated with this leverage cycle that we've had, but we are not impaired in achieving our goal by the recent kind of trimming in costs.
Okay, so basically we've got Dino Pawns is asking your stablecoin FlexUSD, will it repeg to $1? Is rvUSD CoinFlex's replacement for FlexUSD now? And he's asking, what stablecoin should SmartBCH users use?
Yeah, so that's a great question. FlexUSD, there is a path to repegging. I don't want to say that it's going to be easy, but I do want to say that it's possible. So, for example, FlexUSD will be redeemable for rvUSD equity and FlexCoin. Let me just drink some water.
No worries.
Yeah. So FlexUSD will be redeemable for these three component parts, these three composites. And as a result, if these three ended up having a value that was collectively significantly worth more than $1 per Flex, you could see Flex on secondary markets trading closer and closer to $1. Because people would be buying FlexUSD in order to redeem it for $1, in order to redeem it to the constituent assets. And then they would be holding those constituent assets. They might be holding the shares, they might be selling the rvUSD and selling the Flex, or they might be holding all three, whatever. If they thought that these three were more valuable than the price that they bought the FlexUSD at, they might buy FlexUSD and hold the three, or buy FlexUSD and sell the three. And if that happens enough, FlexUSD can go back to $1. In fact, FlexUSD could go higher than $1. What we're thinking about doing is at the point where FlexUSD trades significantly above $1 for some period of time, we could make FlexUSD mintable again. And so I want to outline all of this in a blog post, but we could make FlexUSD mintable again at $1, and then obviously it would still be redeemable for the component parts, right? So it'd still be redeemable for not USDC, but equity, FlexCoin, and rvUSD. And then at some point, those would be drained effectively by people redeeming. And it would just be USDC again. And it would just be USDC in repo, earning interest the same way it did before, but with the new more decentralized, auditable exchange that's more trusted. And so I think in that scenario, FlexUSD repegs, but also FlexUSD kind of becomes an interest-bearing stablecoin again. And so our goal will be to accomplish that as quickly as possible. This is something, the team understands at a deep level. We are all very motivated by. I'm going to be publishing as much information on this as I can, and hopefully quickly. and a series of blog posts kind of explaining how we see this playing out in these different scenarios. So yeah, that's how we're thinking about it.
All right. That's a good point to end that question. Let me restart this Zoom again. Like, this is an issue that I was not expecting, so I'll sort it out for the next time we do a live stream. So I'm sorry about the interruption. Viewers, give me one sec. All right, should have him back on here in a minute. So keep the questions coming, guys. I know that many of you have been waiting a long time for this opportunity. And I've got a few queued up here, so hopefully we'll get to those next. But also, if you guys had a question that I somehow missed, and it was a while ago, just put it back in the chat again. Okay, so Mark is saying that he's got about 10 to 15 minutes left. So this is the last questions coming up now. Starting with Raphael again. And Raphael is asking, let's assume that CoinFlex wins this case, and then how will the trader be forced to return the $84 million debt? So if this person does not have any physical assets, then what happens then? Is the court able to force them to pay the debt?
Yeah. So we're in touch with asset tracers, different lawyers, and the process is pretty straightforward. I think the majority of the time will be spent on Hong Kong arbitration. Once Hong Kong arbitration is concluded, retrieving the assets is a significantly easier part of the process. Almost every country in the world is party to what's called the New York Accord or the New York Convention, which relates to international arbitration awards, and so that is how we would be retrieving those assets. Is basically going to places where those assets are located in and retrieving them via pretty standard established processes. So this is sort of the part of the process that we're less worried about. Well, to be honest, we're not worried about the arbitration either. We're pretty confident. I mean, our lawyers are very confident in the whole thing. So, but the enforcement is significantly shorter and easier typically than the arbitration.
Gotcha. And another question we have here that is related, it's basically, he's asking, if we buy rvUSD and Roger wins, will we owe him money?
No.
Or like, what will happen in that case with CoinFlex? Like, do you have any plan for that at this stage if you're not successful in the Hong Kong court?
Yeah, I mean, CoinFlex would continue onward. If we're not successful in the Hong Kong arbitration courts, rvUSD would become worth zero. Well, might not become worth absolutely zero. It could be, there could still be some sort of settlement out of court for the debt, but it would be worth considerably less. Let's just say. And CoinFlex would continue, of course, because the focus of CoinFlex is not an organization that to go after one specific debt, but the focus of CoinFlex is on building a successful exchange. So that would be regardless of the debt or the rvUSD tokens or any. We want to go after that debt because we want to make depositors whole. We want to make rvUSD holders whole, and it's going to be an integral part of the exchange for the duration of its existence as a token. That said, we don't want all of the business's focus to be on dealing with lawyers and external lawyers and courts and arbitration dealings and these types of things. It's ultimately, to some degree, a distraction versus running the business. So it's extremely important. Those processes are all kicked off. They're being handled by extremely smart people who are very motivated, but it's not something we're focusing all of our energies on.
Okay. So next question here, we've got Fanglin. He's asking, please rethink about returning the SmartBCH money. We are nice, kind-hearted people, and there are people who are deeply affected by the current decision. So I don't know. I've noticed that in the blog posts there has been more of a focus on the CoinFlex side of things. So, do you guys have more plans and like more news for SmartBCH to at least like give them some kind of relief? I personally think while you guys are in full control of the bridge, obviously, and those funds that were in your custody, there is new bridges that thankfully some developers have quickly put together. You can enter and exit right now at like a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you're a SmartBCH person, you want to get out, you can. But I don't know how long that can be sustained or what's going to happen there. It might not last forever. So, more good news for SmartBCH people is needed, I think, from you guys. And what's the next steps there with SmartBCH stuff?
Yeah, I just want to say to Fang Lin, completely understand your position and thank you for your question and your comment. I do think the people involved in SmartBCH are good, kind-hearted people, many of whom have families, and that motivation to restore the trust of those people, restore the funds to those people, and restore calm and peace to those people, I think is extremely important. It matters deeply to me personally and to Sudhu and to the team. And so, look, we're not hiding. We're not going anywhere. We care about you personally, emotionally, and we're doing the best we can to restore assets back to you financially, such that that trust is restored and that peace in your life and everyone else's lives are restored.
Okay, back to another one here from Raphael. He's asking that let's assume that all of Roger's assets are in crypto. So how can the arbitration retrieve these crypto assets or make enforcements against them? And another question that's sort of related, someone said, is St. Kitts a member of this jurisdiction that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, sure. So St. Kitts isn't a member, but that doesn't actually matter because there's assets around the world. and we're not very worried about whether St. Kitts is a member or not. Um, you know, the assets are global, and so the the enforcement of this is global. And the other thing I would say is um, the arbitration award will be public. The decision, I believe, will be public once that's been made, and I think reputation matters a lot. Um, and once that's public, I think that puts further pressure um, on the situation. So there's a lot of different paths towards success here for rvUSD holders. Um, we're looking at all of them, and so I'm pretty confident that between the different jurisdictions around the world, as well as the public nature of the uh, arbitration award and other things, we're going to be able to get these. There's a lot of financial institutions involved here. So
Okay. So I think Mark's only got about like 5 minutes left. So this is basically the final questions now. I've got one here, which I will put on next. And no, that's not it. He's asking if there's a low ball buy offer at say 15 to 20 million for CoinFlex exchange, which relies on you and Sudhu leaving, would you be willing to sell at a loss and move on from CoinFlex?
yeah, so that's a great question. What I would say is uh, we are open to any offer that makes depositors whole, or any offer that gets as close to that as possible. And we're we're not looking to extract value on top of that. If there was something that could immediately make them whole, 15 to 20 million dollars is not enough to do that. Um, and I think the majority of depositors are not interested in that type of offer. It's ultimately not just going to be our decision. It's going to be, um, it would be put to a vote of depositors. And I think 15 to 20 million is probably not the type of price where depositors would be very happy, because again, they wouldn't have their funds restored. Um, so I don't think so. Is the case is the answer, but not because Suda and myself. I don't think so, because I don't think that's what the depositors want. Um, yeah,
Right. Well, yeah, if people, I would say if there's enough demand for that to happen, then maybe someone would be already making like a high offer to ensure that people are made whole, obviously. So we'll see what happens. How about we go here to just one last question, and that's it, from Dino Pawns. So he's asking, when can we expect the SmartBCH bridge to go back live? Because right now we're seeing more BCH enter SmartBCH, and a bank run is unlikely. And yeah, that BCH has been, I've seen there's like thousands coming in through this new Binance Smart Chain bridge by the Block NG guys. So that's what he's referring to.
yeah. I've got a lot of respect for those guys, and I've got a lot of respect for all the teams developing in SmartBCH. I know that the MissSwap guys really well. Tango Swap guys are doing great things. Orderbook.cash is going to be really exciting. So I want to give a shout out to the work Kui Wang's done on developing order book trading on a blockchain, as well as the work Tango Swap are trying to do to integrate that. And also want to give a shout out to Tango Swap for their order router. It's their kind of ability to trade enable trading at the best price possible is a really cool bit of technology, and I think it's been really useful for the SmartBCH ecosystem. So, I do want to just say that I care deeply about SmartBCH. I know personally a lot of the folks developing in it. Oh, and forgot to say, in fact, he messaged me the other day, so I forgot to say, BenSwap, one of the earliest players out there, and a very, very proficient coder as well. So want to give a shout out to BenSwap as well. So, but to answer your question, we are trying to get the bridge back online as soon as possible, if it's possible to do that in a way where it doesn't harm depositors. These things take more time than I would wish they took, but we're working with a lot of highly motivated actors that are very capable, and I do think that the way we're doing it, if we are able to get this done, is the right way to do it. And so it's, when you have a lot of constituencies you have to manage, sometimes things have to take slower. And that's the unfortunate aspect of the situation, is we're in that situation right now. We have to manage FlexUSD customers. We have to manage customers on CoinFlex. We have to manage SmartBCH customers. There's a lot of groups. But there is a fair and right way to do it where we can potentially get an outcome that works well for everyone. So that's what we're focused on. And thank you for hosting this AMA as well.
Just quickly, do you think that you'll open it up to, like, say, 10%? You're able to withdraw 10% or something from SmartBCH like the other CoinFlex customers got? Or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, we've done that, and we will continue. We'll continue to make sure that any deal we give to one side is the deal that every side gets.
Right. So people are already able to withdraw 10%. Sorry, I didn't know that, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And I guess, Mark's got to go, so that's the end of the stream. Thanks very much, Mark, for coming on and answering all the questions, and for giving us your time. I think that there's some hope here, and I appreciate your willingness to speak about the situation, and that you're actively working to try and resolve it through various avenues. And also to Roger, if you're watching this, I got no ill harm towards you. And if you want a platform to come and give your side of the story, anytime, the offer is there. So yeah, with that, I think that's it. That's the stream. And of course,
thank you so much.
Anyone's got any further questions, they're active on the Telegram group for CoinFlex, so just pop in there, and I'm sure Mark will answer any additional questions you may have. All right. Well, ending it now, guys. So thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.